wrote this amazing book, and the title of the book is interesting, Amusing Ourselves to Death. So it's about how the way the media communicates with the masses and how always serious matters get viewed in a form of an entertainment, which is very destructive for this discussion. I will share with you one quote of this amazing book. So he said, one of my favorite quotes, for the message of the TV, of television as metaphor, is not only that all the world is a stage, but that stage is located in Las Vegas, Nevada. So my speech today is about a very popular book, 50 Shades of Grey, and it had topped bestsellers all over the world, sold more than 100 million copies, translated to 52 languages, even surpassing the very famous Harry Potter series. And regardless of whether these numbers can indicate success to some of us, as you can tell from my title of this speech, I won't be praising the book. Please note that I don't believe in censorship. I'm not a book burner. Actually, in this time and age, it's very hard to burn a book or a very popular movie because it's out there. Also, I fault no one for reading this book. And of course, this talk is directed to youth who maybe have encountered or read the book, or to parents who need to talk to their kids about what they read the book. And it's a choice of the parent whether you need your son or your daughter to read this book or not. So it's not easy to stop young adults from reading any popular book. There's peer pressure, there's a lot of things involved. So this speech is not about censorship. It's about damage control. Why damage? Because this book can be classified as soft porn with lots of disturbing and, damaging content, particularly for youth who are in a community where you already have marriage problems and you need a lot of counselors to help resolve this problem. In a community where, I'm talking about the urban community in particular, which I work, which I volunteer in my, downtime, where you don't have a lot of conversations between parents and children to begin with. Let alone talk about marriage and intimacy and relationships. So it's so many complicated things, and sometimes the only source kids might get educated about these topics is from these books. And you need a lot of counselors, and here's a commercial break. My wife is studying, actually, a master's in counseling. But there's very few people who can actually tackle this problem and talk it to the kids in a manner they understand. In fact, what pointed my attention to this problem is a blog article from a counselor who was talking with high school girls about their expectation from marriage and what they should expect and stuff like that. And they were discussing their fears of intimacy and relationships and men in general. And some of them communicated that they had fears after reading this book. So they had a sense of insecurity, and they had a sense of, fear from that, and despite all of this, they were in love with Christian Grey. They were in love with the hero, although he was a very disturbing character to be communicated to the youth as a hero. Let me share with you a quick overview of the plot. So it's about a millionaire, a mega millionaire, but he's a sadist. So he signs a contract with girls in order to abuse them, and he lures them with money and jewelry and cars and lavish gifts and stuff like that. And he was abused himself as a teenager. And what's really disturbing is that he tries to pick girls who look like his mother, who committed suicide after living a very harsh life, and she was a prostitute. And that was his way of, communicating his anger to his mom by basically choosing certain victims who will look like his mother. So a young, ambitious, and totally innocent girl falls in love with him. And and even though he stalks her and follows her and then falls in love with her also, and he makes her sign this slavery, submissive contract to satisfy him and satisfy his sexual enjoyments. Imagine a 12, 13-year-old children reading this book and being fans of such material. So in other words, the hero of that book is basically enjoying BDSM, like kind of sexual domination of their victims. By the end of the trilogy, our bad boy becomes a recovered addict. So he gets married to Anna, and she helps him go over his addiction, and she enjoys marrying after years of, of troubles and patience with that problem. She enjoys marrying the man of her dreams, who after being reformed, and she enjoys, of course, all the pleasures of the lavish life that he was living. The reality is, this is a very fictitious fantasy dream. Christian Grey is probably close to the men that you might see on the crime section in any newspaper, with a close picture of them, in the jail, in the outfits of a jail. And they are, because these people are abusive, these people are violent. Many of them, statistically speaking, might end up, even killing or murdering their own intimate partners. Life tells us that a man who dominates, who controls, who's a control freak, a partner is not a hero. He's not someone that you want your daughter to date, rather than, let alone fall in love with and wish to be, So sometimes this separation between reality and fiction is not obvious for teens, and with nowadays social media and all that, crowded inputs that are coming to them, I think that line between fiction and reality is going thinner and thinner. It's really dangerous that women are falling in love with such an illusion, and they are trying, and maybe sometimes they measure their success in the relationship based on that model. I will share with you some research from the Journal of Women's Health. It was published in September of 2013. The title of that study is Double Crap, Abuse and Harmed Identity in 50 Shades of Grey. So the book, this study mentions how the book, and then later on the movie was released, by the way, in February of 2015. So this is what reignited this book and this movie in the eyes of youth, who are, by the way, might be very conservative, coming from very conservative families. But again, these books find their ways to their bedrooms and to their bookshelves. So basically, the book is promoting a lot of violence towards women, what the World Health Organization labeled as IPV, Intimate Partner Violence. So the WHO says that almost 1/3 of women in the world, they are encountering some kind of violence and dominance in this sense. According to this study, the book talks about a lot of violence, a lot of disturbing things that are happening to the hero, which is Anna, like stalking, like Christian Grey stalks her and use all kinds of technology to figure out where she's going in order to surprise her with a very expensive, fancy gift. How he's intimidating her with some behavior, how he's trying to isolate her because he's a control freak, so he's trying to dominate what kind of relationships and what kind of men she talks to. And then, of course, there's the sexual part, or the sexual violence of the story. Some people might say that the story has positives. It reignites the intimacy and love between couples. But that's only, maybe a thin part of the reality. I think that it promotes a lot of violence and abuse in multiple forms. It really makes us think about the popular culture, how such a book became very popular, despite the fact that many lines had been crossed. My conclusion is, after hearing this speech, I would like to urge the parents, first of all, to get an idea of what's popular these days, what kind of movies and novels the youth are watching, and in case you were not able to stop your kids from reading it, maybe it's good to have a discussion where at least you have to minimize and control the damage that is happening for our kids psychologically and in their values and standards. I wish that I have communicated my message. Thank you so much for your attention. Sorry, I should not thank you, but thank you anyway.